Cinderella scrubs the cold stone floor, her hands raw and red from the harsh lye soap. Dust motes dance in the sliver of light filtering through the high, grime-streaked attic window. Her stepmother stands in the doorway, a cruel sneer twisting her face as she issues orders. The two stepsisters laugh, their silk dresses rustling as they pass by with haughty, dismissive glares. Cinderella sighs, wiping soot from her forehead with the back of her trembling, tired hand. In the rafters, a small brown mouse twitches its whiskers, watching her with sympathetic, dark eyes. She whispers a soft greeting to the mouse, finding solace in the quiet, hidden companionship. A royal herald stands in the town square, unrolling a golden scroll with a flourish. The proclamation echoes through the streets, promising a grand ball at the royal palace tonight. Cinderella watches from the window, her heart fluttering with a sudden, desperate spark of hope. The stepmother rips the invitation from the herald's hand, her eyes gleaming with cold ambition. Back inside, the sisters preen in front of the mirror, piling jewels onto their necks. Cinderella approaches them timidly, asking if she might attend the ball as well. The stepmother laughs, a sharp, jagged sound that cuts through the stagnant, heavy air. They leave the house, the carriage wheels clattering loudly against the uneven cobblestone street. Cinderella collapses onto the hearth, tears carving clean tracks through the ash on her cheeks. The fireplace flickers, the dying embers casting long, dancing shadows across the cramped room. Suddenly, the air begins to shimmer, glowing with an ethereal, soft blue light. A woman appears, draped in starlight, holding a wand that pulses with gentle, rhythmic power. Cinderella gasps, shielding her eyes from the sudden, overwhelming brilliance of the magic. The Fairy Godmother smiles, her voice like the chime of distant, silver bells. With a wave of her wand, a pumpkin in the garden swells into a golden carriage. The mice scurry forward, transforming into elegant white horses with flowing, silken manes. Cinderella's rags dissolve, replaced by a gown that ripples like the surface of a lake. Glass slippers materialize at her feet, catching the light like shards of fallen stars. The Fairy Godmother warns her, her expression turning serious as she points to the clock. The magic will vanish at the stroke of midnight, leaving only what was there before. Cinderella nods, her eyes wide with wonder, and steps into the waiting, golden carriage. The carriage rolls away, leaving behind the dark, suffocating silence of her old life. They arrive at the palace, where music spills out into the cool, night air. Cinderella descends the stairs, her gown trailing behind her like a cloud of moonlight. The guests turn in unison, silenced by the sudden appearance of such radiant beauty. The prince stands at the top of the grand staircase, his gaze locking onto hers. He descends to meet her, bowing low with a grace that makes her heart race. He offers his hand, and she takes it, feeling a warmth that defies the cold. They step onto the ballroom floor, the crowd parting to let them pass through. The music swells, a sweeping waltz that carries them into a whirlwind of motion. They dance past gilded mirrors, their reflections blurring into a single, graceful entity. The prince whispers a compliment, his eyes searching hers for a truth she barely knows. Cinderella laughs, the sound light and free, a melody she has never dared sing. Time seems to suspend, the world outside the ballroom walls fading into complete insignificance. High above the hall, the great clock begins to chime, a deep, resonant sound. Cinderella freezes, the sudden realization of the midnight deadline striking her like a blow. She pulls away from the prince, her face pale with sudden, frantic urgency. He reaches for her, but she turns and runs, her skirts flying behind her. She sprints through the grand hall, the echoes of her footsteps lost in music. She reaches the palace steps, the moonlight catching the glass of her slipper. One slipper slips from her foot, clattering against the stone as she keeps running. She does not stop, disappearing into the shadows of the dark, waiting forest. The prince reaches the steps, finding only the shimmering, lonely shoe left behind. He picks up the glass slipper, his fingers tracing the delicate, cold surface. The magic fades, the golden carriage turning back into a simple, round pumpkin. The horses vanish, leaving only the mice scurrying back into the dark undergrowth. Cinderella stands at the edge of the woods, her rags returning to her skin. She looks back at the palace, the light still burning bright in the distance. The night air is cold, but the memory of the dance warms her spirit. She begins the long walk home, the silence of the forest feeling different now. She carries the secret of the night, like a hidden, precious treasure within her. The stars watch over her, silent witnesses to the change that has begun today. The legacy of the glass slipper has been set in motion, destined to change everything. The prince clutches the delicate glass slipper, his eyes scanning the palace steps in the morning light. He vows to find the mysterious maiden who vanished into the night. Royal guards prepare carriages for a kingdom-wide search. The prince rides through the village, the slipper resting on a velvet cushion. In the attic, Cinderella's stepmother locks the heavy wooden door. Cinderella presses her ear against the cold, locked door, hearing the distant sound of trumpets. The stepmother smiles maliciously, hiding the key deep within her apron pocket. The prince arrives at the first house, his expression hopeful yet weary. Maidens line up, each hoping to claim the royal title. The slipper remains stubbornly small for every girl who tries it. The prince sighs, his gaze drifting toward the horizon. Back in the attic, the mice gather around a small, loose floorboard. They tug at the wood, revealing a hidden crawl space. Cinderella watches, her eyes wide with sudden hope. The mice scurry down the wall, searching for the dropped key. They find the key resting on the kitchen table, while the stepmother is distracted. With a coordinated effort, the mice drag the heavy key toward the attic stairs. Cinderella waits by the door, her heart pounding against her ribs. The key slides under the door, clattering onto the dusty floorboards. Cinderella grabs the key, her hands trembling with excitement. She unlocks the door and slips out into the hallway. The prince's carriage pulls up to the front gate of her home. The stepmother rushes to meet the prince, feigning a polite curtsy. The stepsisters shove each other, desperate to be the first to try the shoe. The prince watches as they struggle, his disappointment growing. He asks if there are any other young women in the house. The stepmother lies, claiming the house is empty of other maidens. Cinderella appears at the top of the stairs, her silhouette framed by light. The prince looks up, his breath catching in his throat. The stepmother turns, her face pale with sudden, sharp terror. Cinderella descends the stairs, with quiet, dignified grace. The prince steps forward, offering the glass slipper to her. The stepsisters gasp, their faces twisting in jealous disbelief. Cinderella sits on the wooden stool, her foot poised to try the shoe. The glass slipper slides onto her foot with perfect, effortless ease. A soft, magical glow emanates from the glass. The step-family stands frozen, their facade of cruelty finally crumbling. The prince smiles, recognizing the light in her eyes. He takes her hand, lifting her from the stool. Cinderella looks at her step-family, her expression one of calm forgiveness. She turns away from the life of misery, walking toward the open door. The prince leads her to the waiting carriage. They depart, leaving the soot-stained house behind forever. The palace gates open to welcome their new princess. Cinderella enters the grand hall, her spirit soaring. She embraces a future defined by kindness and royal responsibility. The prince and Cinderella dance once more, this time under the bright sun. The kingdom celebrates their union with joyous cheers. They rule with compassion, listening to the needs of their people. The mice watch from the palace gardens, safe and happy. Cinderella's legacy of goodness spreads throughout the land. Generations of children hear the story of the girl who remained kind. The glass slipper is placed in a royal display case. It serves as a reminder that courage overcomes all obstacles. The palace remains a beacon of light and hope. Cinderella looks out over her kingdom with a gentle smile. The sun sets, casting a warm glow over the peaceful palace. The story of the glass slipper lives on through time. Goodness triumphs, creating a legacy that never fades. The screen fades to black, leaving a sense of enduring peace.